scene. Well, the Giants all came out and decided they wanted to showcase at the Green Hell. It was one of the great races last week when we headed to the industry Fahrten of the Nordschleife. But we go from one forested area to another. This, the Ruhr Forest, this, the Rudskogen Motor Centre, as we get ourselves set for the fourth round of action in your Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends here for Season 4 of 2025. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone watching here on the Global Sim Racing channel. My name is Jake Sperry. Ryan Walker is alongside with me for today's coverage. Daniel Costello is in a director's chair, and he's using those cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But a 14-turn circuit that has all the makings of a fantastic track. It's one of the lesser-known circuits of Hermann Tilke design. Let's take a look at this GSRC track guide to give you a little bit of a taster of what makes this place tick.
Welcome to Rudskogen Motor Center. Located about an hour and a half south of Norway's capital of Oslo, the southerly placement allows for a much longer racing season than you'd expect in a Scandinavian country. At just over 2 miles, or 3¼ kilometers in length, the 14-turn track makes for a perfect lower to mid-level racing circuit. A nice amount of elevation change and some truly picturesque scenery makes it not hard on the eyes for fans, but retains a delicious amount of challenges for drivers. There's of course the obvious places for passes, such as into the sharp chicane of turns 1 and 2. But in spite of the long downhill stretch into 3, it's way too fast of a corner to try and overtake unless you're seriously brave. 7 and 8 include a frustrating triple apex sequence that rises, drops, and then rises again, all within what effectively becomes a single corner. There's also the tricky combination of 13's swift entry, then a seemingly never-ending final right-hander to dump you onto the main straight. With it being part of iRacing's base content, drivers are likely to get plenty familiar with this track, and they'll need to thanks to the very technical layout. But overall, it's easy to see why this is a popular destination for all Norwegian motorsports fans.
The challenge of the Rudskogen Motor Centre is quite simple in its premise, but the key will be that middle sector of the lap, Ryan, which you take that challenge out of 3 and 4, and then it gets really difficult, especially in these cars that have only the mechanical grip to go and help them through the corners.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, the middle sector, from turn 3 down to about turn 10 or turn 13 and 14, sorry, is really, really technical, especially with these cars, because there's no downforce, ABS, or any of the silly gimmicks that they get in today's modern cars. But yeah, the best places to pass around this Rudskogen track is possibly from the exit of turn 14 heading down to turn 1. And then on the exit of turn 2, you've got to carry that speed all the way down to turn 3, because again, it's another passing opportunity where you could possibly make moves. But that middle section, the twisty section, is probably one of the most difficult I've found from my offline laps that I've done during the week. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting race, and one that I'm looking forward to around this fantastic 2.02 mile track. And it's got 14 turns, as you see on the track map. And yeah, I think with the race being it's going to be a long race for sure, especially in these cars.
Yeah, we'll get into how long we are racing for here today in Rudskogen here in Norway as we get a little look at what this championship has done so far. It has been one driver to keep in mind at the top of the F1 standings. Aldrius Valenterius, the gold standard, has been up there with a 25-point lead over Mick Claridge. He's not racing today. He'll be in the OWRS with Genesis Extreme, so he's going to be away. Nicola Cocchi will be the one who'll have to take up the mantle at 37 points adrift, with Togo Hisada in 4th and Jason Clapper in 5th. Rolly Wallbank is 6th in the championship, and then the Basque bandit Oye Samayoa, who's not going to be here today, is 7th with David Rossi, Gary Ho and Kurt Clapper. 8th, 9th and 10th, Ho and Clapper tied on points in the F1 standings. Ryan, F2 has been an interesting championship so far.
It absolutely has. It's been a fantastic battle in this championship for most of the season, and it's currently been led by the German, Josephine Mecker, with Tobias Herrenby 28 points behind her. That's still, you can still mathematically close that gap, but you'll need to try and get good results towards the end of the season, with Mats Lundin rounding out the top 3, and then Donald Peake in 4th, with Yanis Carpentier in 5th, and then Manuel Maticic in 6th, and then Andreas Bruno 7th, Alan Graham in 8th, and David Andreas Tovar in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 in that championship is Campbell Wallace.
And he's certainly trying to prove that he's got a lot to move up in terms of points. Cup of Nations in the hands of the Ukraine. England find themselves 2nd, but expect them to drop down the order here today. As part of the interesting battles is, it's what flag you represent on iRacing that makes you part of the Cup of Nations. So with Spain 3rd and Italy 4th, you got Japan and the United States, Germany in 7th, the United Kingdom, sans England, is going to be in 8th place at this moment in time, with Hong Kong in 9th and the Netherlands rounding out your top 10 as it currently stands. We'll take a little look over what your race details are today, and the key here for this one, Ryan, a big 24 laps of racing.
Yeah, 24 laps around this track is going to be, well, it probably feels like it'll go on for a lifetime. The setups are open, so you're free to make any changes: tyre pressures, suspension, spring rates, anything like that. There's no fast repair, there's no spare car, so if you crash and wreck out and get big damage, that is pretty much the end of your race, and you get a drive-through at 17x, and if you get to 25x, you will be automatically disqualified from the race.
Yep, so you got to be alert to how many incidents you are picking up over the course of racing action. Qualifying currently underway at what is a little bit of a misty and foggy day here in the Rue Forest as it stands. We are expecting a little bit of sunshine to creep out as far as the race goes. But talk about the wind here today. It is blowing a gale, nearly 30km/h gusts around this circuit, and there'll be some areas of the track that are very protected and some that are quite exposed.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certain corners as well that you've got to be very careful with regards to the track limits or how much curb you can use, because from the laps I done offline, you can, if you take too much or go too wide, you can get a slowdown, and that around this track that's costly.
It is. It's going to be a tailwind down into turn 3, and that will also mean at turn 10 there's a tailwind there too. It'll be a cross headwind across the main straight. Togo Hisada goes fastest on a 1:21.7, a fantastic lap time, but remember, Valenterius hasn't set a lap as of yet, so there will be work on that with 2 minutes and 45 seconds in qualifying remaining, and you've got to put your best time down on the board. And it looks like, in terms of how they've all set themselves out, it's all about who can make their stall work for them, with the likes of Nicola Cocchi doing a decent job out there at the moment. Got the times currently set by their iRacing at the moment, looks like, here on the right-hand side. So we are waiting for car number 1 to cross the line and to put that time on the board. Valenterius with a long run out of 14. Henry Morse on a 21.658 goes fastest overall, but is that eclipse? It's only a 21.7 by Valenterius, but he's got one more lap to go.
Yep, and this is probably the lap that will count the most, because with these cars as well, sometimes it does take the tyres to maybe the first lap's probably a warm-up lap from my experience racing these cars. The second lap is probably where the tyres are in that operating range, where it's pretty much that's where we'll probably go quicker.
Yeah, and if you can find a way to go quicker, then really got to work it. Out of turn 4, now working up the hill again. Turns 5 and 6, only 125 kilometers an hour before looking to crest up over the top of turn 6 and 7. We move on back down the field to another one of our drivers out there, David Andres Tavar, running the gold leaf style livery here of the number 22, the Colombian, trying to get that rotation through the middle of the corner. And this is one of those circuits that really does, for how small it is, just an 81-second lap, it really does emphasize the difference between drivers, because you need that ability to run mechanical grip absolutely beautifully. Valenteus then making the push out of turn 14, waiting for the chance to pin the foot down to the floor, working towards that Verth bridge, crossing the line with a 21.5 and goes a 10th and a half clear to strike pole position away from Henry Morse. A mega lap time.
Absolutely fantastic end to the lap as well. It just looked super smooth and so precise as well. As we look at Bjorn Ackerman as well, currently on his last lap in qualifying. But Valenteus, he's from what I've seen this season, he's just pretty much been a superstar that in the series.
Yeah, it really does. Bjorn Ackerman then trying to get the unicorn to fly up, but with 10 seconds to go, I don't think he's going to make it in time around this final corner. It's a hard cut at 8 minutes, and he will not make it. So the grid is set, and we are going to be as follows then for this one. Aldrius Valenteus, 2 wins out of his first 3. He now finds himself on the pole here today, 121.596. Henry Morse will be his nearest challenger alongside. Togo Hisada and Nicola Cocchi will be 3rd and 4th, with Mitch Heller starting in 5th position, almost 9/10 of a second adrift. You've then got John Olsen and Gary Ho, as it's another Gary alongside him on Road Gary Quellin in 8th place. Yannis Carpentier will start from 9th, with Laust Olsen in 10th.
Yep, and starting in 11th is David Rossi. Alongside him is the F2 Championship leader, Josephine Becker, and then Rolly Wombank in 13th, with Kurt Clapper in 14th. Pablo Rodriguez Joglar in 15th, with Cam Porter in 16th. 17th is Pedro Temaladri, and then 18th you've got Tobias Hernvey, Campbell Wallace in 19th, and starting in 20th is Graham Rory Hunt.
And then over the page, 28 drivers here today. The last 2 times set by David Andres Tavar and the Welshman Thomas Martin. So Jason Clapper, no surprises, not setting a qualifying time. Bjorn Ackerman ran out of time. Thomas Tuba, the Slovakian. Manuel Matisic racing for Ireland in 26th. Mats Linden for Sweden. And then Jeffrey De Martin then down at the back. Car number 28, the lowest I rating in your field of 28 today. 2 minutes to get yourself gridded up, or you can elect to start from pit lane, and it might be a good idea because turns 1 and 2 have an air of Canada about them. A flick left of 90 degrees, then a long looping right of turn number 2. It is going to be a slightly uphill drag to turn number 1 and 2. Turn 2, the highest section on this very hilly 3.25 kilometer circuit. Valente is looking to prove that he's got the winning formula once again. He looks around at Henry Morse, he'll look around at Togo Hisada and say, what can I do to hold? Lights on, here from Rudskogen, lights out, and let's get racing. Horrible start then by Togo Hisada, he's swarmed by Cocchi, and then the likes of John Olsen, who's got an absolute stormer. Valenteus will be challenged into turn 1 by Henry Morse, who tries to open up the inside line. Valenteus has nothing of it. They work themselves through the opening couple of corners and clean, but down the hill, what a run that's going to come in. There's trouble at the back, but Valenteus now is out of the race lead, because here comes now into 2nd position one Mr. Nicola Cocchi trying to get it done. Valenteus on the back foot.
Yeah, but Valenteus is on the inside, and he might be able to hold that position and hold on to 2nd place, and once he does. So good defensive driving in the early stages by Valenteus. He's not being pushed over by any means, but
Gary Ho and Togo Hisada come together. Gary Ho has a massive drop down the order. He'll fall behind Pablo Rodriguez Hoglar. Incredible for Hisada.
Yeah, so it looks like Togo's just been a bit too eager to try and get through the field as quickly as possible, which I can understand starting this further back, but maybe just being over optimistic with his move on Gary. But further back, looking at the Canadian Cam Porter in 14th place at the moment.
Not one, two. Carpentier goes and someone else has gone with him, and that'll be Tobias Hernvey. Straight line then from Bjorn Ackermann through the gravel trap. Believe it or not, there is a gravel trap there on the inside, but what a dramatic lap. Cam Porter's gone for a spin off the exit of the final corner as well. We've got one car down in the pits. That's Thomas Tuba off of the opening lap. So some crazy racing. Josephine Becker, your F2 championship leader. She's having a great race here today. She's already up to 8.
She is, and I think if you're Josephine as well, you don't want to do anything too silly, making any silly moves. Just think of the championship, just finish the race and pick up the points. There's a bit of calamity in front of her.
And a massive spin for Mitch Heller, then getting tagged around. It was a case of a slide through the middle of the corner for Gary Quellin. That checked up then Mitch Heller, and Josephine Becker, she had nowhere to go and could only run straight up the rear. Laust Olsen now picks up the pass on Pablo Rodriguez Hoglar and keeps the place, but a lot to dissect in this opening lap, as there was David Andres Pavar into the side, now look to try and make some move, and then that caught Ackermann out. That's what got Tuber out of the race. There, a massive chain reaction with those very chunky rear tyres.
Yeah, and turn 1 and 2 are basically, there's not much room to get through there, and I think it was just a bit of everyone's getting bunched up and a bit of a concertina effect, and unfortunately several cars got caught up in that as Valenteer's putting the fastest lap of the race. But I take that back, Nicola Kokke is putting the fastest lap of the race as I say that.
600ths quicker on that last lap for Nicola Kokke. That's what gets him to where he wants to be. Laust Olsen then still under pressure in 9th. They've being dropped by Gary Quellin and Josephine Becker. You got Gary Ho trying to recover in this group, and David Rossi trying to cling onto the back, and there goes Graham Rory Hunt, turned around at the wrong way. So Graham with a lot of work to do down 23rd, and Togo runs wide, and that's going to cost him a lot of time. He was fighting for that 5th place, and he's just lost it off the back of John Olsen.
Yep, so again, Togo I think he's just been a little bit impatient trying to get through the field. There's a back up at the front, Jake. We've had a lead change with Valenteers up into the front, but Henry Morse is trying to do a bit of a switchback.
Well, he'll have to now be very critical through turn number 12 and get the drive off the exit. Not enough for the short shoot run over through 13 into 14. Has a lot of the Oschersleben about it, that section of corner, likes a turn 1 that you find there, and of course the run through the mid part. So this circuit, a very beautiful throwback of some others, but Henry Morse will get the run on the straight. Thought about diving to the inside. Valenteis with the fastest lap, taking a look on the back of that Ford DFV Cosworth engine.
Yep, Henry Morse trying to make a move into turn 1 and 2 there, but just it's a bit, like you said, it's a bit Oschersleben like with how tight it is. But this is a section where Henry could try and make a move, but again, as I say that, Henry Morse trying to go around the outside, and it looks like he might get it done if he can hold. Oh, what a move!
He's not got it yet. He's got to go side by side through the necks, the left and right. And Aldrias just commands the apex. Henry can throw it up the inside here for this double apex of 7 and 8. And he will get a chance, but the pinch in the middle of the apex is going to favour Aldrias down the hill towards turn 10. Great respect there between these two drivers. Henry Morse throwing what he can, trying again around the outside, but he can't leave himself too open. Nicola Kokke is there, and it will drag John Olsen into the mix if they're not careful.
Absolutely, yeah. John Olsen just sitting back there in 4th position at the moment, just watching what's going on with these three. And I think, yeah, if I'm John, it's not always a bad thing to hang back just in case either of these three get caught up with each other, because he could be the benefactor if they get caught up.
He definitely can be the benefactor, and he will be looking at this going, yes, please fight more, please scrap more. Massive group behind. There in 5th position, Gary Quellin has Josephine Becker, Laust Olsen, Pablo Rodriguez Hoglar, Togo Hisada, Gary Ho, and David Rossi all there. This is from 5th to 11th, but for the moment, it's all about Henry Morse. That massive tailwind down the hill is creating a wonderful slingshot opportunity into turn 3 and 4, but it's not going to work for Henry. Lovely diamonding of the apex from Valenterius that just gets him the exit speed.
And it's this section here as well that you've got to be very careful not to take too much care, because you can't get... Oh, Josephine Becker's had an issue.
That's turn 3 and 4 again. That's gone all the way with contact. She was working to try and get by Gary Quellin, saw a gap down the inside, and she has gone over the top of Gary. Laust Olsen's gone into the back of Gary Quellin, and Pablo Rodriguez Hoglar is now in 5th, and Togo's just had a tap on the rear, and that's going to cause him all sorts of troubles, because he's going to drop 2 places for it. So it's getting a little bit chipper out there.
It's been a very scrappy race so far from Togo. It's you wouldn't normally expect this from him. He's normally one of the front runners in the series, but maybe qualifying just did not go his way, and it's just maybe just playing with his mind a little bit.
He qualified well. He just didn't get the start, and the moment he had that bad start here, Ryan, it's just a case that the race has completely fallen away. Nose trying to fall off of Laust Olsen's Lotus 49, moved down the inside. Togo now, a little bit of the red mist descending here. He is going to be in full bore mode, trying to get this done. A replay here of Becker going over the top of Quellin.
Yep, so it looks like Becker has a lot more corner speed on entry, and I think that might have just caught Gary out, and Gary wasn't aware.
Well, I think Gary's got a headache now after that, because he's had a rear tyre smack him straight in that helmet, and there wouldn't have been much protection back in those days. And then, of course, Laust Olsen straight into the back of it. But your front of the field remains these 3, Valenterius, Morse and Cocky here at Rudskogen, lap 6 of 24. And they had dropped John Olsen and realised that less drivers in the party means an easier time of things as they go about their racing. So, for the moment, Henry Morse happy just to sit back, happy to say, I can make a challenge. And this is a Henry Morse, remember, last season, that was agonisingly close to the title.
Absolutely. David Ross has had a spin trying to make a move on Laust Olsen, and gets that horribly wrong.
Ooh, David, not what you wanted there. And Kurt Clapper will now join, Mitch Heller will try and join, and Gary Ho, who is running, of course, with the wonderful respect of his sim rig at the moment. VR, massive amounts of technology that has been poured into it. He's got Togo his side of behind, and he wants to get by Gary Quellin here for position. This is to get back to 6th place, looking down the hill. You've got the road markings to help you out, but Togo is going to get 1. Is Togo going to get 2 around the outside? He slides out, but he needs to confirm this one at the next corner. What a pass by Togo Hisada. He's deep in the next corner, but he's got it done.
I was watching Gary Quellin just drift slightly close to Togo Hisada, and I thought I was going to end up in contact, but somehow they also managed to survive it.
What an incredible bit of driving there. Gary Quellin just had to leave the door open around that outside line. I wonder how much damage he's got to the rear suspension. That will be playing a factor. Togo as well with his pieces of contact. He's traditionally loose with his setup, so he is just playing on that and driving with confidence. Gary Ho and Josephine Becker, they've all been in the wars and still find themselves in the top 10. It has been one of those days of who's not run into an issue today rather than who has.
Absolutely, and somehow Josephine Becker, considering she had that incident with Gary Quellin, she's still inside the top 10, amazingly.
It has been one of those days, and Josephine, she still keeps herself in play and has done very well. 2 retirees from this race, Thomas Tuber and, of course, Jeffrey DeMartin. Gary Ho getting out of sorts, and that could have opened the door over at turn 2 for Becker to go launching down the inside of 1, launching down the inside of 2, and she's going to force her way down the inside of both of them. Gary Ho abandons ship and drops 2 places. Rolly Warbank and Jason Clapper find their ways through, but Clapper's still got to confirm it as Henry Morse tries the outside at 10, and it doesn't work.
Yep, and again, Valentin's back up into the lead, and Henry Morse takes a bit of a wider entry, trying to maybe just take a late late entry and try and carry that corner speed. But again, this battle for the lead will just not settle down. It's been absolutely fantastic stuff, and between these three, and especially Henry Morse and Andreas Valenteas.
The gold standard lead, but for how much longer? Henry Morse here onto lap 9, doesn't elect to make an attempt at turns 1 and 2. Knows that turn 3 and 4 are the big place to get it done. They will have traffic soon on the horizon in the form of Campbell Wallace, the Scot, down in 26th position, having struggled through the majority of the first part of this race. Down the hill they go, Valenterius on his marks and looking to try and attack aggressively off at the exit. Henry Morse is trying to follow, and then Nicola Cocchi happy to sit there in third, pick up his points and say, I'm having a good day. Search to the inside there to try and force a mistake out of Andreas Valenterius, and he's just not quite getting it here as Henry Morse.
Yeah, I think Henry Morse's best opportunity, if I was him, is probably, I would maybe try and wait until the exit of the final corner and try and get that run down the home straight. Try and carry that corner speed and maybe try and get a run. But I think Valenterius at the moment is doing a great defensive job. He's not doing anything too aggressive. He's just placing the car in the right places.
Look at that, a big attempt coming out there of turn 12 for Henry Morse. He was trying everything there to get the run, and he might be showing his hand on what he wants to do on the final lap. The outside line turned inside for Andreas Valenterius, covers him off here, Ryan, and now you can see Henry Morse is not someone who likes to sit down and just wait in a group. He loves making the move. He loves finding the pass. He is one of the most aggressive drivers in this field, and he's got the skills to hold himself to account through every section. It's very rare you see Henry Morse out of a race for driving too aggressive.
Absolutely, it's always been Henry's driving style. I think is basically if he senses an opportunity, he'll try and make a move. But further back, look at Toko Sada right behind Jogla and trying to make that move for 5th position, and I think he might be able to get the move done.
Well, Pablo's not got anything for that. Togo Hosada by Pablo Rodriguez Joglar, and that will jump him up into the top 5. A lonely moment for John Olsen now, who's got 8 seconds over Togo Hosada to go and try and hold at this stage in 4th place. But John Olsen's maybe been a little bit further back over the last couple of seasons. This is a great return to form from him.
Yeah, John's always been one of those drivers that he's always been on his day. He's always been one of the quickest, I think. From my experience of racing against him, and he's a quick driver and he's always got the solid results, and it's good to see him being rewarded with that. Currently up there in 4th position.
Doing a great job. Quelin under threat from Jason Clapper, Rolly Wallbank under threat from Gary Ho. Pedro Temeladri is on the rear of this group now too, and the Argentine is really trying to work a way forward and see if he can find himself a massive chance to go and make this pass. Jason Clapper gets a fantastic drive coming out of the final corner here of turn 14, and now be eyeing up turn 1 for a pass, but lifts out of it, takes a lift and coast of about 60 metres and decides, you know what, it's not worth it right now. I'll try and attack out of turn 2 and get this one done down the hill. The prime place, 3 and 4.
Absolutely, Clapper's got the run, and he might be able to try and make a move, but he's not close enough, and I think staying behind is probably the sensible thing. As Clapper trying to get by Gary Quelin, who's put it this way, he's had a bit of an action-filled race so far.
And believe it or not, we're not even halfway through this race yet, which shows you just how much has been going on over the top of 7 and 8, and Clapper trying to get to the corner early to power up earlier. You've got this small kick right of 9, which can catch a car out if you especially like these, and these Lotus 49s, big aggressive send down the hill at turn 10. Now these cars on their day can go and hit 300 kilometers an hour, but the issue you run into is, as we got side by side, Gary Ho working that line against Rolly Wallbank, and is going to get the inside here for 14, but it's going to go straight on across the circuit. How's his rejoin? He's just going to get back on circuit in time. Wowee, that was scary. But the big key is the braking zone. They've got brakes which are the equivalent of just trying to drag your feet along the floor.
Absolutely, yeah. Clapper still not able to get by Quelin at the moment, and yeah, I think it's going to take a mistake from Quellen, I think, for Clapper to try and get by. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Gary Hose got a slowdown after that cut across the track as well.
He would have done, but the way that it was slowed up by the likes of Brody Wallbank, I think he's actually got away with it there in terms of that penalty. Big look to the grass even for Jason Clapper. Gary Quellen on the radio going, where are you going, mate? You're not going to find a move like that down the inside. Jason Clapper loves the last to first challenge. He's all the way up into 9th place from 23rd on the grid, a gain of 14. He wants 15 places.
He does, and I think that attempt by Clapper might have startled Quellen a little bit, but right behind that battle as well, we've got the battle for 12th and the 13th going at the moment between David Rossi and Temaladri at the moment as well. So plenty of action going on, not just at the front, but further back in the field as well. And that's why I've always liked racing or commentating on these races, because there's so much happening.
There is always something happening here in this one. David Rossi back there in 12th with a lot of work to do. We've also got battling between Yannis Carpentier, Tobias Hernvey and Cam Porter. This is back then for 16th, 17th and 15th places that they've got at this moment in time. So you look around at Tobias Hernvey and say, well, I'm just about holding station. Carpentier qualified the car 9th, so he's got the best pace of anybody in this group, that he's just been mired back here after his issues in the opening laps.
I know it's like Jason Clapper might have got the move done for 8th place on Gary Quellen, and managed to go round outside as well. And it looks like Gary Hose going by as well. So Gary Quellen, in the space of about 2 or 3 corners, has lost 2 places.
And if you don't have confidence at 3 and 4, which is the most important corner on this circuit, you are going to get eaten up for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And that is exactly what Gary Quellen found there at turns 3 and 4. A little bit wide from Gary Ho, but it covers off. And Henry Morse here, they will have a little bit of work to do as they go through turns 1 and 2. That was David Andres Tavar, the lap traffic they've just worked a way around. But Henry here is seeing that Aldris Valenterius has got about 0.3 of a second. It's not as, I would say, dramatic as it was at the beginning of the race where Henry was all over the back. I wonder whether Aldris has settled into a rhythm. He knows how quick he can go, and Henry, because he's been jostling and searching everywhere on pure pace, can't match. So I think that he's finding he's going to have to settle down, and he's going to really need to lock in over the second half of this race to work out where the opportunity is on a driver who seldom makes mistakes. Indeed,
and Valenterius at the moment just holding on to that lead at the moment. I think, yeah, I think again, if Henry Morse, I think the only opportunity for him is if Valenterius makes a mistake, but we know how cool under pressure Valenterius can be, and at the moment, again, he's proven why he's one of the best in the series.
More traffic in front of them now, the yellow machine of Thomas Martin. They will have to try and work around the number 27 out there with only 1,500 iRating, which is pretty close to the starting stack you get of 1250 out there. Valenterius, another fastest lap of a 121.5. He is really trying to wring the neck out of his car at the moment. He only gained the grand total of 14 thousandths of a second on that last lap, but using the toe beautifully, he just buzzes the tower against Thomas Martin, because he needs every single 100th and 1,000th out there as if he's making a cake.
Absolutely. And with about 10 laps to go in this race, I think at the moment it looks like it's a battle for the win between those two at the front. But again, further back, action going on as well. Cam Porter trying to make a move into turn 1, but can he get the move done? He decides to back out of it.
Yeah, so the concentration on his face. We see Cam quite a lot here with the Global Sim Racing channel, having a little chat there and saying, look, this was very close into turn number 1 and 2, but I couldn't quite get the run on Hernvey because Carpentier's also gone through. They've now also got Mitch Heller to the battle, and Mitch, who qualified the car 5th, is going to want to try running through this pack, working hard through turn 4 up towards turns 5 and 6, and it really gives you a sense of how hard you need to work around this track, especially in this machinery.
Yeah, And especially as well, if you're running at a direct drive wheel, what's from my experience as well on bumpy tracks, direct drive wheels can basically just about rip your arms off.
You're going to need all of the muscle memory and retention to make sure you can make that work. And Cam Porter up the hill will be under pressure behind as they work through wide in front. Door opens up then. There's a mistake from Hernvey, then brings the group close together. Carpentier starting to lose that ground. And speaking of grounds that are being gained, Nicola Cocchi now has dropped to 2.5 to your overall leaders, and Togo Hosada's got the gap down to John Olsen to 3 seconds. Here comes the run then against Tobias Hernvey for Cam Porter, who looks to the outside to get the pass done. Tries to get a big launch around the outside. It works. Heller now tries to sneak on down the inside at turn 2 and gets his pass. So 2 for the price of 1.
Fantastic move by Heller there, and that was a great move as well. Opportunistic, and he managed to pull it off. But the battle for the 11th between Quellen and the Wallbank going on as well, and I don't know what it is. I think Quellen, after being passed earlier on, I think maybe just lost a little bit of confidence, maybe just feeling unsettled at is it again Quellen runs wide.
Yeah, he's really struggled on the brakes here. Gary Quellen will have a chance back up the hill against Rolly Wallbank. He will throw it up the inside. Rolly has to give some space, but that will leave David Rossi with a chance if Rolly's going to be as aggressive as that, or as passive as that, I should say. Gary Quellen takes his place back, but Rolly Wallbank pretty much gave it away.
Indeed, and looking at Togo Hosada, and currently in 5th place and all by himself at the moment, as it seems. He's actually closing down in the battle in front of him. It looks like it's John Olsen in front of him. He's closing down, so Olsen maybe just maybe not backing off, but just Hosada. We know how quick he can be, and maybe just throwing everything at it to try and close down John Olsen.
Well, Hosada that last lap did a 1:21.6. By comparison, Aldris Valenteus did a 1:21.5. John Olsen a 1:22.7, so 1.1 seconds a lap slower at the moment. John, I just think, can't carry the same speed that the quick drivers can, and Togo Hosada's recovery is going to be to 4th place. It will be damage limitation, but he's going to take a lot of damage to Valenteus and Nicola Cocchi, and even Henry Morse as well up there. And Aldrius and Henry, every lap right now, are trading fastest laps. This is a scrap between these two drivers of who will break first.
Indeed, and they've managed to break away from Nicola Cocchi as well, so two-way battle for the lead and or the potential one. So if you're Henry Morse, I don't know what you would do. We know how he likes to send it if he senses an opportunity, but I think at the moment, if you've got a decent gap behind you, I would maybe just play the pacing game, maybe waiting for until about 3 or 4 laps remaining in the race, and if you're still in contention and still keeping in touch with Valenteus, I think that's when you've got to try and start making a move.
There is an element of I will stay on the rear. You will see there the suspension and the likes of the axle there really turning into that gearbox. The exposed rear of this Lotus 49 that is giving itself so much of an intent of a look from Henry Morse. He tries to figure out, how do I stop staring at the back of that and try and work my way through on Aldrius Valenteus with Nicola Cocchi there. John Olsen's gone around, and Togo Hosada moves through into 4th position. John Olsen with a spin at turn number 12. He had been chased down and immediately cracked.
And I wonder if it was a bit of contact between him and Togo, or if it was just a case of John Olsen maybe just backing off or not backing off too much, but maybe just feeling the pressure from Togo.
I think it was more pressure than anything else. There was no contact between them, and it was as easy as you like for Togo Hosada. He's now up to 4th, but he's got a quarter of a minute to get to Nicola Cocchi, so that's going to be a really tough end to the race for him in terms of his charge, but Tobias Hernvey continues on in this race as it is remaining close at the front. That's Laust Olsen there, completely missing now the front as he goes through. I'm amazed it's still keeping together. Without that, they say, you need to add speed and lightness. That's the Colin Chapman way. Here comes Henry Morse at turn 10, gets the launch, now needs to try the long way around at turn number 12, and Valenterius has it scouted.
Valenterius definitely feeling the pressure now, and Henry Morse is starting to get a little bit more racy now, trying to get by right now as well. And I think he probably realises that Nicola Cocky is not too far behind as well. Cocky's only maybe about 2.5 seconds behind, as it looks like Henry's trying to make a move, but again, they just can't get it done.
He looks around, he nibbles and nibbles and nibbles around, looking for any way to take the full bite, and he just can't seem to get anything more than table scraps at the moment. It's very much like watching a golden retriever under the table, waiting for the family to feed. Henry Morse has been waiting to feed pretty much all race long. He's tried aggressive, he's tried patient. Right now he knows he hasn't got long. He's got 4.5 laps to make this pass.
Indeed, and I think it's a difficult thing. I mean, especially around this track, is just trying to figure out where you can try and make the move and try and get it done. But Valenterius just seems to be as well. He just seems to be able to place the car in the right places, and seems to be a little bit stronger in some places on the track as Henry Morse. So it's a bit of a swings and roundabout battle at the moment.
It certainly has felt like a day of two titans going at it, and something will have to give between them. Valenterius taking still a very aggressive line through 13 into 14. He opens out the steering through the first part, and look at that gap for the first time. It jumps up over 0.6 of a second. So Henry Morse, with a couple of small mistakes on that lap, a 22.1 plays a 21.7, now is really going to have to work. Manuel Matisits is the traffic in front, and Valenterius is going to need clearance, and they're both going to get it here along the straight down into 3.
And Nicola Cocky as well, slowly closing back down in this battle as well, so he's definitely not out of it if either of these two slip up.
No, he's not out of the situation. I think he's looking and thinking, well, if you two could just get slightly closer together, there's more of a chance. The 10th comes back in favour of Henry Morse, working up over 7 and 8, looking for the turn 9 flick right, which turns themselves up, and the gap back together again. So it continues on what is a wonderful race that we've got going on at the moment, and we've got to remember still that there's races on for 7th, 8th and 9th with Jason Clapper, Gary Ho and Josephine Becker. So there is still a lot to deal with in the late stages of this race, and what great racing we have seen. Valenterius, though, he is just a machine, and that is the first time we've seen him as wide as that, working through turn 14. So it's proving here that Henry Morse is still going to be a key factor in this race.
Absolutely, and Henry Morse is about half a second, about half a second behind still, but actually closes that gap back down under braking. So Henry Morse is absolutely throwing everything at this, but again, it's just can't find anywhere to pass. But further back as well, we've got the battle for 9th place between Jason Clapper and Gary Quellen, and just in front as well, we've got the number 7 car of Gary Ho just in front.
Yep, so Gary Ho is the driver in the immediate hot seat for that 8th place. Big slide there in the background for Thomas Martin, catches onto it, whoa buddy, and now keeping himself in play. Gary Ho is keeping himself steady, but Josephine Becker, if he can catch Josephine, he can get the toe from Josephine, and that will be a huge help against Jason. Wallbank, 11th place, working hard to try and get this move done, and see that 10th is on the horizon. Gary Quellin's had a very eventful race. David Rossi there as well, and these two, Wallbank and Rossi, racing it for the United Kingdom in the Nations Cup.
Yeah, Rolly Wallbank as well, and looking at David Rossi as well, and so Gary Quellen. It's been a bit of a scrappy race by him, but somehow still inside just inside the top 10 as well. It's like David Ross is trying to make a move on the inside of Wallback, but Wallback manages to hold that on the outside.
Doing a great job, Henry Morse, a 21.3 on that last lap. Gets it back to right on the rear of Aldrius Valenterius with a lap and a half to go. Henry is making the moves at the right time. Look how aggressive he attacks through 5 and 6. Henry's absolutely throwing everything at it, and I think he realised that if he doesn't or basically doesn't close the gap down on Valenterius in that sector, he just loses touch. But I think 2 laps to go, or just about 2.5 laps to go. I think Valenterius just needs to keep placing his car in the right positions when defending, and he could hold on for this win. Well, they'll have 1 lap left at the line, and Henry Morse has been desperate, trying to find any which way to break the likes of Aldrius Valenterius, but this is going to be a case of what can you do? Henry Morse has tried left, he's tried right, he's tried up, he's tried down, he's tried sideways, he's tried upside down. He would love to have himself the chance to say, I can go and make this move, but he has to fight hard out of turn 3, where it's been gusting all day, or turn 2, now into 3 and 4. He's not going to get the angle down at the best place on the circuit to make this happen. He extends a little bit wider, he tries to drive a little bit better off of the exit here, see if he can sneak a chance. A little wiggle from Valenterius, forces the side-by-side almost as they work up through 5 and 6 into 7 and 8. Doors left open. Henry's going to try and steal one down the inside, but it's going to be a long old slog to try and get this done. He's not going to get there. Almost contact into the rear as they work down the hill to turn 10. Valenterius is narrow down into 10. Up the hill again. Henry Morse knows 12 is the last great corner. He's got to get this right, and Valenterius is going to be under immense amounts of pressure. Henry Morse has thrown the kitchen sink at this one, but as they head into 14 and Morse tries a last Hail Mary to get a move done, it is the immortal for Aldrius Valenterius. He'll come to the line with a great defensive win here at Rudskogen. Nicola Cocky will take 3rd. It's a 2nd for Henry Morse. Togo Hosada on a day of damage limitation had a very poor start to this race, but will still take 4th for it. Your top 5 will be rounded out by John Olsen, and Josephine Becker on the final laps has lost places to Jason Clapper and Gary Ho. Critical points in the F2 Championship, but she will still gain as she heads over the line and takes the F2 win.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic one for Josephine Becker again, and pretty much cementing her championship lead at the top. But yeah, what a race, action everywhere, and plenty going on, and that battle for the win in the closing stages was absolutely epic.
And they're still trying to rush to the line there. Tough day at the office for Mitch Heller, who just about staves off Laust Olsen the Dane, heading over towards the line. So the last of the drivers will make their progress. We will get official classified results on screen for you here from Rudskogen. It's a 3rd win in 4 starts this season for Aldrius Valenterius, and he had to be under the collar for this one because Henry Morse challenged him every step of the way. Nicola Cocky would finish off in a distant 3rd, only by 3 seconds though, with Togo Hosada 4th and John Olsen rounding out the top 5. It would be Pablo Rodriguez Hoglar who would finish off in 6th, ahead of Gary Ho in 7th. A climb of 15 spots for Jason Clapper in 8th, with Josephine Becker 9th and Gary Quellen rounding out your top 10.
Rolly Wallbank finishes in 11th, with David Rossi finishing in 12th, and then Pedro Temaladri in 13th, Kurt Clapper in 14th, with Yanis Carpentier in the 15th, with Cam Porter 16th, and then Mitch Heller 17th, with Laust Olsen in 18th, Tobias Hernvey in 19th, and finishing in 20th was Max London.
your top 20 there, and we'll move over the page because we only had 20 on the leading lap. So a lap down or worse, Manuel Matisic, Campbell Wallace, Thomas Martin and David Andres Tavar. Thomas Tuba would be a finisher, but 8 laps down. And then your retirees, Bjorn Ackermann, Graham Rory Hunt, and Jeffrey DeMartin. I'm sure for Bjorn, Joe Peak has said something very nice about Bjorn today, which is why it's gone wrong for him in terms of this race. But we will get the chance to talk to some of our drivers, and the driver who finished second overall today, Henry Morse. Henry, that's got to be frustrating but yet rewarding in some ways, because you tried pretty much everything in the book and you couldn't find a way.
I was just happy to be that close to his pace and to be able to challenge him. I was really not expecting it coming into the week, to be honest. I was pretty busy throughout the week, and I didn't really get sit down and figure it out until the Friday race. And my pace was really good. I checked the results on the Wednesday and Thursday race where Adrius and Co raced, and I said, wow, I'm not too slow around here, so I might have a chance. And I was just really happy to put up a good fight. And God, it was fun side by side for so much. I'm sure we were side by side for probably a lap or two total.
In terms of what made this circuit so challenging, we talk about this track being one that's not run as much, not known as much in the world of motor racing. So when you head to Rudskogen and you see the challenge of it, what is it that makes this circuit, so difficult for you to race? Is it the fact that it's just not as much known, or is it the levels of elevation change?
Well, to be honest, I was a lot more, I was overly intimidated going into it. I was running Togo Hisada setup, and it made it very easy to drive. I had about 9 laps of practice before I hopped in and ran the race yesterday, and then I did another 5 or so laps before the race today. So the car was really quick out of the box, so hats off to Togo. And I think tracks like this, that there is not as much, we haven't run as much at over the last decade, because I've been racing this car for like about 3 or 4 months now. I think it levels the playing field out a bunch in my favor. When we go to a track that hasn't been run much, it has a lot of peculiar braking zones, and more so peculiar acceleration zones where you spend there's some corners where you don't even get full throttle between the corners in this car. You're just constantly modulating the throttle, and then this car really doesn't like to be tossed into short, sharp radius little corners. This track has a lot of those, so it's really, really challenging to sort of bend its will to get around these tight corners.
So in terms of the short, tight corners, I'm going to say this now, you're not going to have much help next week, because we're running the international layout of the Legacy Pocono circuit. So the tricky triangle is going to turn into a road course for a week. That is going to be surely a challenge that drivers haven't done in a hot minute.
Yeah, that one's going to be funny. I'm really hoping I'm going to be able to do it. I'm having a small oral procedure next week on Friday, the day before the race. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be in condition to hop on over to Pennsylvania for this one. But I hope that I will be able to. The layout looks fun. And of course, like I said, these weird tracks where most of the competition also doesn't have. I've not done a single lap there, but I'm sure most of the other people I'm racing with haven't either. So if I'm able to race, I think I'll have a decent shot. I hope I get to, because it looks hilarious.
Well, we will wish you the best of luck as next week comes around. Henry Morse joining us here today and picking up a 2nd place finish. Walking down the paddock is Ryan Walker. He's caught up with Nicola Cocky, who finished 3rd.
I have indeed, and Nicola, that's it looked like a fun race, a bit crazy at times, but was 3rd place the maximum you think you had today, or do you think you could have done better to keep in contact with Adrius and Henry?
Yeah, I think it's my pace was that. My plan was to get a decent qualify, which I did not, because I spawned in the 2nd lap, so that was out of the window. And I was just trying to keep pace with the guy in front. But in the first half, I think I was on pace with them. But after that, I think I was pushing too much, and always happens with this car when you have a car in front. And I was experiencing some overcooking, tired. So yeah, after that the car was pretty much undrivable. So I just need to lift more the throttle, and that was it.
And this Rudskogen track as well, do you think it suited these Lotus 49s? And would you like to see it back on schedule in the future?
Well, I don't know how to answer this question, because I don't hate this track. I don't think it's still. I still don't think it's fit for this car, to be honest. I think it's too small, and there are too many corners. And what bothered me even more is that on this car you have slowdowns everywhere, even if you are going out, and you just in some corner you can cut like crazy, and there is no slowdown. In other there is no room, and if you just miss for 1 millimeter, you're going to slowdowns. That really kills the the mood, if you ask me. But I like the last corner. I like the first sector of this track. The rest is crap.
And yeah, I like that answer. And looking ahead to Pocono next week, it's not the oval that we're racing. I believe it's the road layout. Much experience?
Well, that's an easy answer, because I never been there, not even seen any videos, and never been in practice, and never been racing there. I really have no idea about what this place is going to be. So yeah, will be my first laps will be, I don't know, maybe on Monday. No, Thursday.
Okay, well, again, congratulations on third place, Nicola, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you on track next week at Pocono.
Okay, thank you guys. A shout out to Henry. He's a formidable driver, and today I think it showed. It with very few practice, he was able to be very much on pace, and we always we are always happy to have strong drivers among us, and to keep the series alive. And even if I was beaten by him today, I'm still happy that we having many good drivers racing with us. Even if we were missing Seb, we were missing Mick, we were missing Kevin. A lot of people actually today. So, but yeah, this let's see what happens next week. Bye bye.
As that was a third place Nicola Cocky joining us, and yeah, that was our third place finish. So
yeah, he did a very good job. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for any industrial language that you may have heard during that last interview. We'll bring Cam Porter into the conversation here. Cam, I think the best way to describe it is an up and down day, as is traditional here around Rudskogen. It looked like that you were on to an absolute stormer of a start. You got yourself up into the top 13, and then the car just went around on you.
Yeah, I can't explain that. I did not have trouble in that corner all of practice. I guess I can only guess it was because of the cold tires on lap 1. Yeah, I was having a good good first lap until the final corner, of course. But then had a really fun battle with a few guys, especially Ian Carpenter. So shout out to Ian for driving a solid race ahead of me. It's really difficult to try to set up a pass here, it seems. And we both struggled to pass Tobias Hardenby, who was putting up a good defense. But yeah, had a fun race today, regardless of what happened on lap 1.
So in terms of what you've been looking at over the course of this season, how much of this has been about trying to get up into that next level, try and consistently fight in and around that top 10, and trying to unlock what comes out of this Lotus 49 car? What do you think the key is going to be for you to hit that next level?
Well, obviously more practice would really help me, because often I only come into the race with, well, often I get up on Saturday morning and wonder what track we're racing this week because, I don't practice a lot. I don't take my racing really seriously. I just want to come out and have fun with the guys that are normally the same pace as me around the tracks. And, I don't try too hard. My goal is not to necessarily win a championship or anything like that or get better. I just want to have fun and have some close racing with some good fellas around me.
Well, speaking of having fun, we will alert you to the fact that it is Pocono next week, but not the oval, the Roval version of Pocono. So there are second gear hairpins about, and I believe there is a chicane that is based entirely out of orange cones. So how do you feel that's going to go for you?
Well, if it's the track I think it is, and I raced it a lot when I was a rookie, but I haven't raced it much in the last several years. So it will be like coming back to a new track, I think. Just haven't raced that one in years. So it should be fun, though. I kind of enjoyed racing that track, and I always like doing something different, just to change things up.
Well, it will be a bit of change, but Cam Porter, a good solid run here today. 16th place will be what he's able to achieve. That will bring the curtain down for racing action here from the Rudskogen Motor Centre. And what a wonderful bit of racing we have had. I want to give a massive thanks to the team who has brought this show to you here today. From Daniel, from Ryan, and from Dougie, this has been a Genesis Extreme production. Now, there is more racing in 7 days' time, and you'll definitely want to tune into that because we are heading to the Tricky Triangle. It's the Legacy version, and if you have ever seen the Southpaw Racers Super Serious track guide around here, I would like to ring up for an infestation of second gear hairpins, which are there through the opening section of the lap. It's going to be a very tough challenge, and we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. You can join us once again at 1:30 UTC for all of that action. IMSA Vintage is going to be jumping on a little bit later on today from Jerez, so make sure you check that out. Classic Lotus tomorrow will be jumping in at Watkins Glen, and there is no chicanes to save them. It will be an all-out brawl there. And then, of course, Skip Barber's on Thursday. We'll be heading to Alton Park, and then we'll be back once again with the Grand Prix legends over on Saturday once again to get your week all in schedule. But today was about a case of two drivers. One, Henry Morse, who threw what he could at the wall, hoped that it was going to stick. He drove an almost flawless race and couldn't quite get it done. But today, this will be described as Aldrius Valentinius' immortal race. Got to the front, did not look back, and pretty much held the bravest of brave defenses that even Henry Morse couldn't seem to break down. We'll see you in 7 days' time for racing action when we jump on to the Tricky Triangle of Pocono, but we'll see you in a couple hours when IMSA Vintage rolls around on the Global Sim Racing channel.
This is iRacing.